airborne. हरे कृष्ण रवजी धन्यवाद।
हाँ कृष्णा, आने तो सबको, मैं अभी वीडियो ऑफ करके बैठा हूँ। Hare Krishna. Kaunteya Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisance, Prabhuji. All glories to Prabhupada and all glories to all the assembled devotees. So we are very happy to host His Grace Kaunteya Prabhu amongst us. It's our very good fortune. He has accepted our invitation. He is certainly a very busy personality, and despite that, he agreed to facilitate students from Delhi and surrounding areas. So, for those who do not know Prabhu very well, although Prabhu is a very well-known personality in ISKCON, I can only talk about him from my perspective, how I got to know him. I know him for the past 13, 14 years. And since the time when he was director for congregation preaching and congregation development ministry. And during those days, like I had the chance to, I went to him for some help. We were new to congregation preaching. And those days, I was quite, actually, I was already very inspired by the time I went to him because I had read his book. To those people who have not read that book, get it from anywhere. If you cannot get it, like buy it. You cannot buy it, steal it. The book is called Super Sunday. Yeah, the book is called Super Sunday. You must have that book. All of you must have that book, Super Sunday. I mean, even if you are not a Namata devotee, even if you're not a person who is uh, basically doing Namata Prabhuji, but I clearly remember the book was dedicated. I read the book at least 10 years ago, and I still remember the book was dedicated to all the devotees who have washed pots in the Ramata program. Am I right, Kante Prabhu?
Yes,
That was
to all the devotees who ever wash pots
pots in the Ramata. I still remember
after a Sunday program.
Yes, so I still remember that thing, and that's why all the participants must read that book. Like jokes apart, it's a very in-depth study of what happens in Ramata. All that was written 10, 15 years ago, but it is very much relevant as we speak today. So, and also then I remember met Prabhu in his congregation development office in Chakra building, and he suggested book on icebreakers. That's another book. Every preacher must have that book, regardless of where you are, what kind of preaching, what kind of activity you are doing in ISKCON, must have that icebreaker book. It's an excellent book on icebreaker. In those days, I was learning these ropes of teacher training programs. I was like attending, so I was quite new to these things. But those books were like, and still are as relevant as they were. So yeah, so then that was how it started. Then Prabhu also uh, like asked me, and actually he gave me that opportunity. I first got an exposure of what a big leadership forum is like when he took me along to Tirupati for iLeads program. That was my first time as a like I co-hosted a program with Prabhu. So that was the first time I got an exposure of that stature in ISKCON. So I have this Prabhu has always been very generous to me. And he's also, I mean, everybody must have read the biography. It has already been circulated. So I don't think there's a need for me to, I mean, read something which you already have. I'm just sharing my like small experience that I have with Prabhu. Prabhu's, I mean, so many strengths, but one of that really draws me very much close to Prabhu and always look up to him is his sense of humor. His ability to present a very grave subject in ISKCON with such ease and humor. So he can drive his point home without hurting anyone. That's an art like you can learn from Prabhu. And Prabhu doesn't mince words. That's another thing I very much admire in him. Doesn't mince any words, even if even if it means like he versus the whole of ISKCON. So because he thinks that his loyalty to his parampara, his loyalty to Prabhupada means more for his personal value and ethos than anything else, than being just quote and unquote being politically correct. So I absolutely, I'm in that basket. So I would, that's why I very much requested time and time again, I requested, Prabhu, you must give your Sangha to our devotees here. So Prabhu, there are devotees from like mainly from Delhi NCR area, but there are a couple of devotees from Pakistan as well, and a couple of devotees from Mayapur as well. So, and there are these certain books, as you can see, in the that's there in the Prabhu's short introduction. Those all those books are online PDF versions, and I strongly urge, I strongly implore rather, that you read these books, at least starting with books about Diksha Guru, a thoroughly researched book. This thick book, it's also available in hard copy version. It's this thick a book, must read. Then these are books which I read, and I can vouch for them. Then the newest project, News Martha, it's like an ever expanding concept going on, which is basically what ISKCON is being hounded. Actually, these are the sharks around ISKCON. No, I'm sorry, not around ISKCON, inside ISKCON. So, yeah, you need to know that. Otherwise, you might be, like gobbled by one of these without even getting to know what happened to him. So these are certain very things, and this is another interesting book, How to Mess Up Your Life with Varnashrama. Mess up. As I said, he's known for his sarcasm and humor, sense of humor, and very deep insights. So I think I won't be doing much ado. Over to you, Kaunteya Prabhu. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bimala Prasad Prabhu. I always appreciate Bimala Prasad Prabhu for his enthusiasm. I remember last time I was giving a lecture as his guest here at the Mayapur Academy, and practically Bimala Prasad Prabhu created a disturbance because he was laughing too much. He was just laughing too much. But anyway, as you know, he's a very jolly person, but he can also be very, very strong and uncompromising. The first time, you see, actually, what he recalled was not exactly as it is. When he started the ISKCON leads in Tirupati, what happened is that there was another devotee, I won't mention any name, this many years ago, was another devotee whom I have invited, kind of innocently, I invited him because I knew he was interested in this thing. And then Bimala Prasad Prabhu said, no, this devotee is not ready. So he just took the first flight from Delhi to Tirupati and kind of saved the day. And it was a very, very impactful presentation on all the history of the Delhi Bhakti Vriksha development, very systematic. So I'm very much in awe and gratitude with Bimala Prasad Prabhu. And I know he's taking a personal risk to invite me today.
I don't care.
He knows what I'm talking about. There are certain people that don't particularly appreciate me, and he knows that very well. But still, somehow he has invited me. Much appreciated. Much appreciating your courage. So I just hope that after this session, so you'll be happy that you invited me. Welcome, everyone. And I see there are 13 participants. So I understand that there's supposed to be some 25 participants.
20, around 20. People will be joining, Prabhuji. Like more people should be joining. I mean, they are on time, but it's like sometimes, yeah, it's just...
They made an exception in my honor.
No, it's not because like it just like because I'm not giving them the sauce anymore. That's why. Long time no sauce makes Jack a dull boy.
See, Bhakti Vaibhava students, obviously, they are already probably among the leaders, and I'm sure they're already responsible devotees who are even preparing for more and more leadership positions. So they should come on time. Anyway, obviously, we honor those who did come on time, and so we start now. Huh? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we start today the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The cantos, they follow sequentially one after another, and there is at the end of each canto almost an introduction or a link to connect to the next canto. Sometimes it's obvious and seamless. Sometimes it's even like a cliffhanging type of approach. The first canto, for instance, ends when Shukadeva Goswami arrives in Hastinapura, and they choose him as the best speaker. He sits on the Vyasasana, and then the last verse of the first canto says, and so Shukadeva Goswami starts speaking. And that's the end of the canto. A typical cliffhanging. I knew a devotee in Italy. He bought the first canto. When he was not a devotee, he bought the first canto, he read it. He was really so intrigued and inspired and stimulated. And then at the end of the canto, he really wanted to read the second canto. And at the time was not yet translated into Italian. So he called the temple, called whatever address was there. He said, hey, do you have this second canto? He just wanted to know what Shukadeva Goswami would say, because the whole first canto climaxes at that point. So in our case, we have seen that at the end of the 4th canto, we have a few verses, which I like to recall. One is text 25, the last chapter. And it's Maitreya Muni. He says, my dear Vidura, I've told you everything you wanted to know about the conversation between Narada and the Prachetas. The conversation describing the glories of the Lord. I have related this as far as possible. Next verse. And those were the last words of Maitreya Muni. You know, Maitreya Muni does most of the 3rd canto and the all 4 cantos. So he's a major speaker. He does something like 60 chapters, which is basically 20% of the whole Bhagavatam. And Maitreya Muni stopped speaking now. And then Shukadeva Goswami starts. I mean, everything Maitreya Muni spoke was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, but as a reference to Maitreya Muni. So now Maitreya Muni stops speaking. Shukadeva Goswami continues, O best of King Parikshit, I have now finished telling about the descendants of the first son of Swayambhuva Manu, Uttana Pada. I shall now try to relate the activities of the descendants of Priyavrata, the second son of Swayambhuva Manu. Please hear them attentively. Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport, in the first chapter that we will study today, that somehow, after the Prachetas, there were no qualified, accessible, or available kings. So the fourth canto describes Uttanapada Maharaj, his son Dhruva, and the descendants of Dhruva. And then it comes to the Prachetas. And then apparently there was no more king. So that's why it became necessary to request Priyavrata. Next verse, text 27. Although Maharaj Priyavrata received instructions from the great sage Narada, he still engaged in ruling the earth. After fully enjoying material possessions, he divided his property among his sons. He then attained a position by which he could return home, back to Godhead. And this will be what we discuss today in the next few lessons. Then, text 31, O king, those who hear these topics about kings who are completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead obtain without difficulty a long life, wealth, good reputation, good fortune, and ultimately the opportunity to return home back to Godhead. So this is the Palastuti, the results, which we could see there both spiritually and also material. Good health, long life, reputation, good fortune. So that's end the Canto 4. Now, I'm sure you are all aware, but let's also reconnect to the old dynastic idea that the Bhagavatam is describing. Swayambhuva Manu is directly a son of Brahma. Actually, it's not even considered technically a son of Brahma. It just comes from the body of Brahma, both him and Shatarupa, his wife. And there are 14 Manvantaras, and Swayambhuva Manu is the first of the 14 Manvantaras. So we are talking Swayambhuva Manvantara, one Manvantara is 300 million years. We are in the 7th Manvantara. And so we are talking about more than 1.5 billion years ago. What we'll discuss today, it's actually happened 1.5 billion years ago. And we will see how the situation, the conditions were very, very different. I would also like to spend a few minutes just underlying how elevated were these personalities. So Swayambhuva Manu, Shatarupa, they had 5 children, 2 sons, 3 daughters. They had Uttanapada, Priyavrata, and then Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. And all 3 daughters were described in the 4th canto. Akuti, you may remember at the very beginning of the 4th canto, Akuti is given in marriage to Prajapati Ruchi. And Swayambhuva Manu made a special arrangement that his first son of Prajapati Ruchi and his daughter Akuti will be considered his own son. It's something called Putrika Dharma, and it's approved. The Acharyas approved. There's nothing wrong. And the Acharya explained that, particularly Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur said that Swayambhuva Manu knew that the son of Prajapati Ruchi would be an expansion of Krishna, it will be Yagya, will be an avatar. And that's why, although he already had 2 sons, he made this particular arrangement. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, an avatar of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could also become his son. Because these arrangements generally are more common when a person does not have a son. So he has only daughters. And so he makes an arrangement and say, okay, you marry my daughter, but your first son will be my son. But in this case was exceptional because he already had 2 sons. But so somehow he was eager to have this Vatsalya Rasa relation with Yagya. Then, of course, Devahuti was described in detail in the 3rd canto, how Swayambhuva Manu personally travels, sees Kardama Muni, and offers the daughter in marriage. And the daughter becomes the mother of, again, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila Deva. Then we have Prasuti, the 3rd daughter, who was given to Daksha. He was given to Daksha, and with Daksha, she had 16 daughters. 13 was given to Dharma, 1 daughter to Agni, and one of the remaining daughters was given to the Pitriloka. And then the other one was Sati, who was given to Lord Shiva. And of course, we understand Sati in the next life became Parvati, and she is the eternal consort of Lord Shiva. Uttanapada Maharaj became the father of Dhruva. So we can understand, or perhaps we cannot understand, but we can try to visualize how high is the caliber of this family. That children or sons-in-laws were God, or at least Shiva, were different persons, Yagya, Kapila Deva, and so on. So we are talking about very, very, very elevated personalities, both the male children and the female children. In fact, there is a verse in the 2nd canto, if you want to take note, verse 43 of the 7th chapter of the 2nd canto, and Brahma is saying, although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and immeasurable, still, because we are all surrendered soul, we know how he acts through Yogamaya potencies. And then he lists some devotees who also know Krishna, although he said is not knowable, materially speaking, because he's immeasurable. So how do you fit it in your brain, in your understanding? And so he lists Swayambhuva Manu, his wife Shatarupa, his sons and daughters like Priyavrata, Uttanapada, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. So it's a very, very special family. And we need to remember that they are special, even if sometimes the Bhagavatam may present them in a, we could say, homey situation at home, and some of the things they say or they do may appear a little bit mundane. Like in the 4th canto, you studied the story of Dhruva, and you saw how Uttanapada Maharaj appeared almost victimized by favoritism towards Suruchi. And so he kind of accepted to neglect Dhruva Maharaj, although he had this great affection with Dhruva Maharaj. And we'll see today, we'll see how Swayambhuva Manu himself is trying to interrupt the Brahmachari career of Priyavrata due to, I wouldn't call it mundane, but still administrative responsibilities. He needed him to become the king, while he was happily, very happily doing austerities in Gandhamadana mountain with Narada Muni. Was really not thinking of getting married. It was really not in the plan. So we need to understand that these are very, very elevated. In fact, there is a verse in the 4th canto. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it if I find it. Okay, I misplaced him, but at one point, the Bhagavatam, and I'll bring it up next week because I wanted to underline that. At one point, the Bhagavatam says that, oh, yeah, it's here. Sorry. Okay, this is in the Bhagavatam 8th canto, chapter 1 and text 19. It says that Manu, the sons of Manu, the kingdom of heavenly planets, and the seven great sages are all partial incarnation of the Supreme Lord. They're described in Sanskrit as Amshavataras. So Manu himself is son Priyavrata and Uttamapada. The demigods created by Daksha and the rishis like Marichi were all partial incarnations of the Lord during the reign of Swayambhuva Manu. Therefore, even if we see them engage in some sort of domestic arrangement and interactions, they are very, very, very special. So we should have this frame of mind while we approach the topic. Yes, there are household affairs, but these are not on a human level. They are very, very elevated. So these are all Amsha avatars. Okay, so this is the premise before we start our chapter. Is there any question or comment from anybody? We'll do one thing. You can always raise your hand or just speak, but you can also always at any time write a question or comment in the chat. So at any time, and then we'll see the chat later. Is that okay? So this was the premise, linking to the fourth canto, an underlining, emphasizing the great elevation of these personalities. We'll see especially Swayambhuva Manu and Priyavrata in action, and especially with Priyavrata will be obvious that is an extraordinary personality. Anybody wants to say anything or ask anything? Now, I don't know what's your habit. It would be preferable, if possible, if you can keep your video on, if your internet connection allows it. First of all, it shows that you are actually there. You just didn't just connect and then went to the park. That's the first thing. The second thing is also, it's a little more personal. I mean, many of you probably I don't know personally, so I see your faces. At least I put the face to the name. Of course, if you have to do other things, you want to switch off the video, is fine. You have to eat or something else, it's better to put off the video. But otherwise, I would say as a default setting, it would be good to have the video on. Some that don't agree, and it's fine, it's their right. Or maybe they're just not there, you know. Okay, so whoever is here anyway, in any form, visible or invisible, let's start with the first chapter. Why don't we do one thing? Why don't we read the chapter summary? I understand that generally you don't read or every verse or every purport, because that would take too much time, and I understand that. But at least we could read the chapter summary, and so at least to have an idea what we're talking about. So let me put it. So the chapter is entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Let me share it with you. Can everybody see it? Good. So
Yes,
who likes to read?
May I read, Prabhuji?
Sure.
The activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. This chapter describes how King Priyavrata enjoyed a royal opulence and majesty and then returned to full knowledge. King Priyavrata was detached from worldly opulence and then he became attached to his kingdom. But finally, he again became detached from material enjoyment and thus achieved liberation. When King Parikshit heard about this, he was struck with wonder, but he was somewhat bewildered as to how a devotee with no attachment for material enjoyment could later become attached to it. Thus, in astonishment, he questioned Shukadev Goswami about this. In response to the king's inquiries, Shukadev Goswami said that devotional service, being transcendental, cannot be deviated by any material influences. Priyavrata had received transcendental knowledge from the instructions of Narad, and therefore he did not want to enter a materialistic life of enjoyment in a kingdom. He accepted the kingdom, however, at the request of such superior demigods as Lord Brahma and Lord Indra, the king of heaven. Everything is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, and everyone must work accordingly. Just as a bull is controlled by a rope tied to its nose, so all conditioned souls are forced to work under the spells of the modes of nature. A civilized man, therefore, works according to the institution of Varna and Ashram. Even in materialistic life, however, no one is free to act. Everyone is compelled to accept a certain type of body offered by the Supreme Lord and thus be allotted different grades of happiness and distress. Therefore, if anyone is, if therefore, even if one artificially leaves home and goes to the forest, he again becomes attached to materialistic life. Family life is compared to a fortress for practicing sense control. When the senses are controlled, one may live either at home or in the forest. There is no difference. When Maharaj Priyavrata, following the instruction of Lord Brahma, accepted the royal throne, his father Manu left home for the forest. Maharaj Priyavrata then married Barhismati, the daughter of Vishwakarma. In the womb of Barhismati, he begot 10 sons named Agnidhra, Idma Jiva, Yagnabahu, Mahavir, Hiranyareta, Gritaprastha, Savana, Medhatithi, Vitihotra, and Kavi. He also begot one daughter whose name was Urjasvati. Maharaj Priyavrata lived with his wife and family for many thousands of years. The impressions from the rims of Maharaj Priyavrata's chariot wheels created 7 oceans and 7 islands. Of the 10 sons of Priyavrata, 3 sons named Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana accepted sannyas, the 4th order of life, and the remaining 7 sons became the rulers of the 7 islands. Maharaj Priyavrata also had a second wife, in whom he begot 3 sons named Uttama, Raivata, and Tamasa. All of them were elevated to the post of Manu. Shukadev Goswami thus described how Maharaj Priyavrata achieved liberation.
Thank you very much, Mataji Ganga Shakti. Sounded very confident. Are you a teacher? Yeah, it shows. Thank you. we all felt as you students while you were reading. Okay, so so the verse, the chapter starts with this question by Maharaj Parikshit, because as we read before, Shukadeva Goswami was telling him that Priyavrata entered family life, although I've been instructed by Narada Muni, which almost sounds, again, I don't want to make an inappropriate comparison, but almost sounds like a sannyasi who lives a sannyasashrama in terms of the gravity or the surprising nature of this act. In fact, in the first verse in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Maharaj Parikshit was greatly astonished that King Priyavrata remained in absolved life, especially since he was not only a self-realized soul, but also a first-class devotee of the Lord. King Parikshit was thus astonished that the great King Priyavrata, although trained in the principle of Naishtika Brahmacharya, entered household life. The verse describes Maharaj Priyavrata as Atmarama. So, in other words, he was Atmarama. How could he enter Grihastha ashram, which certainly it's lower than a sannyasa ashram, at least, of course, in the hierarchy of Varnashram. So there was this great surprise. We could understand in the cultural context of Maharaj Parikshit and the old Vedic society, it was really surprising. It was really surprising. It almost felt like a fall down, although it was not a fall down, like we will see, but it was very surprising to see that happening. A little editorial on this. Sometime brahmacharis, I don't know if any of you have experience of officially, formally living as a brahmachari, or even taking the saffron clothes. I mean, besides, of course, Bimala Prashad Prabhu. But sometimes there is a culture among brahmacharis that, okay, I'm preparing for sannyas, and even though it's completely natural and even expected for a brahmachari to get married, sometimes there is an expectation in the brahmachari ecosystem or echo chamber to, no, I put on saffron, it's for life. So sometimes there is a lot of, there is a sense, oh, I'm falling down. I know I didn't have this feeling. I was in saffron for about, I was in saffron for 23 years before. I mean, I was unmarried for 23 years before I got married. And I didn't have this problem. For me, joining the Grihastha ashram was certainly an update, was certainly an upgrade. I'm happy that I did that. And now I'm married since more than 20 years. I have no regret on the choice. But I know that in some communities, when a brahmachari gets married, especially a brahmachari who wears saffron gets married, it could be a little bit of a shock to the community, especially if the mood is you took saffron, means that's final. There are different cultures, even within ISKCON India itself. But it could be a psychological almost trauma for the community, even for the person, that they may feel I've failed. But we understand that in normal circumstances, going to the Grihastha ashram is not a failure, it's just a natural continuation of one's life, one ashram. Rukmini Arisevini, you had your hand up for something?
Yes, Prabhuji, can I ask one question?
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, it is written here that Prabhupada is saying that when the senses are controlled, one may live either at home or in the forest where there is no difference. Above this, there is a line: family life is compared to a fortress for practicing self-control. So just I was just getting curiosity to know about the brahmacharis. You also were talking about that they are not into the family life. So how they practice self-control? Like above this, there is a line that therefore, even if one artificially leaves home and goes to the forest, he becomes. So is it really necessary to get into one ashrama or get into the family life, or then we can get the test that are our senses control being there, or just aloof from here, or we can be like think that yes, so this is coming in my mind.
I'm not 100% sure about what your question is, also because somehow your voice was not 100% clear. So can you summarize the question? Is the meaning of sense control? Can you kind of summarize your question?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. See, the person who is in Grasta Ashram,
Yes.
so being in a grahastha ashrama, he can it's very easy to come to know that are my senses controlled, to check oneself. But one is in brahmachari ashram, how that devotee can check himself or herself, because he is not in contact with. So it is written that later on that if one artificially renounce something, so he will come back to material life. So
Yeah, there is artificial, meaning that the person is not, that's not really their nature. And sometimes we see that either because of their own ideas of what's best for them, or because maybe they look for social prestige. Some people take a position like a swami, like a sannyasi, but it was artificial in the sense that it was not really their nature. They were still attached to having a woman with them, and not just for physical contact, but just as companionship, or to have a private life, to have one's own bank account, one's own economy, which most people in human society need, at least for a phase in life. That's why, see, technically it is said that human life is 100 years, so 25 should be brahmachari. These are very general indications, but just to give an idea, 25 years as brahmachari, 25 years as grihastha, 25 years as vanaprastha, and 25 years as sannyasa, in the sannyasa ashram, as sannyasi. Now, of course, the life expectations have decreased, so we cannot take it literally. But the idea is that when you are 75 and you have been living 50 years with a woman, and your children are married, and you have experienced whatever household life you have experienced, then of course at 75, even the body, it's weaker. There is much less chance to really fall down, or run away with a woman and things like that. Because you have experienced the household life. Now, if sometime, like for his Srila Prabhupada was eager to start a movement, at one point he started giving sannyas to young men in their 20s. And we have seen that many of them failed as sannyasis. And now, of course, Srila Prabhupada was experimenting different things, and some of them stayed for their whole life as sannyas, even if they were very young when they took sannyas. So it's possible. But for most people, and we're talking men because sannyasa is for men, for most people, sannyas is something that should be taken if they're ready, if they're qualified, very late in life. So if you're talking about brahmacharis, some brahmacharis are naturally controlled, they're really naturally detached from say women, the need for sex. See, it is said that you can stay without breathing for say 3 minutes, 4 minutes. You can stay without drinking for say, I don't know, 2 days. And then you can stay without eating for, depending on the people, not 4 days, 3, 5 days, like that. and you can stay without sex for the whole life. It's not like an absolute requirement for the human body to have sexual activities. But of course, for some people, it's not possible, and it's not even recommended if that's not their nature. But some people, especially if they have a very strong, healthy relation with their mothers, to be brahmacharis, to be detached, it's kind of natural. It's kind of easy for some people, and they're not against women. See, my wife, we have chance to travel different places, and women are very perceptive about the nature of a man, how a man sees them, and there are brahmacharis who sees them as a danger or even as an enemy, because okay, a young woman, she can make me fall, or at least she can agitate my mind. And so there are certain brahmacharis who really have like almost an antagonistic or confrontational relation with women. They really see them as dangerous for their life. I remember once we were in a temple in Croatia, and there were 4 or 5 brahmacharis in the temple. We would stay a few days, and one day my wife gave class, so she sat on the Vyasasan, but no brahmachari came. No brahmachari came. I mean, and it was very, in one sense, very sad for them. I mean, that okay, she's an Indian lady from South India, cultured, dressed in sari and everything, covered head, but somehow the brahmachari didn't even show up at the Bhagavatam class because a woman was giving class. The same brahmacharis, they go in Harinam every Saturday or like that. They do Harinam, and then after the Harinam, sometimes they stop talking with the girls who are almost, half naked. In Europe, in the West, especially in the summer, they're just very short, very small shorts and very small T-shirts. And the same brahmachari, they stop and speak 15 minutes with these girls, maybe with the pretext or as a preaching engagement, teach them kartals, teach them little mridanga, inviting them to the temple. So you see there is some sort of almost cognitive dissonance among some brahmacharis. Instead, like I know, but my wife told me, some brahmacharis, they relate to her in a very mature way. When they say Mataji, they mean Mataji. They see my wife as a mother, as a potential mother, and they are not agitated. They're very nice. They can talk with people. I remember, one person comes to mind. I don't know if you know him in Chopati, Rudranath. I don't know if you know him. It's a brahmachari, but many are in that category. Let me specify. And you can see him that he deals a lot with guests, he deals a lot with devotees, and he deals with women in a very mature way. You can see he's not disturbed, he's not agitated, he doesn't escape, he doesn't hide. And so for those brahmacharis, remain brahmacharis, is very natural. And they can become very good sannyasis. But for people who are still very much struggling with attraction, very much struggling with the whole, we could say, feminine dimension, for them, generally sannyas is not just recommended. It's better they process that attraction, which I repeat is normal, is human, in the grihastha ashram. Did I answer your question, or I just went off a tangent?
Yes, Prabhuji. I just want to add one thing. That one thing I wanted you to please help me to understand, that if one is brahmachari, so if one is brahmachari, and because he's not associating with women, so it is understandable that yes, you answered this, but still, is there a possibility that sometime, suppose he comes back in the grihastha life, So how to understand that if one is practicing and he may not get affected after if he comes back, how to get that checked?
What do you mean affected? I'm not sure what does it mean affected.
Prabhuji, I want to ask that okay,
Some
I tell about
brahmachari
I
get
take my
married.
example. I take my example.
Okay.
I'm single.
Okay.
I'm a single lady. So I can say that yes, I'm following the brahmacharini ashram. I'm into it. I'm just following that. So what is that? I know I'm not having any contact with any of the male. So what is the possibility that I may not get contaminated, or my mind will not get attached, or because after reading this, that if somebody is already in grasta ashram, they are practicing, so they can check themselves, then being together even their senses are controlled. So what about me? So this was the exactly question.
See, because you're asking about yourself, and I don't know yourself, I don't know you. I mean, it's the first time I see you probably in life, so I can't really tailor an answer which would be 100% relevant to you as a person. Huh? In general, and again, emphasize in general, women like to get married. Generally, women like to have a husband, have families. That's the general nature. Now, there are exceptions. There are women who choose not to get married. They continue their spiritual life. And there are some examples like that. So, but generally, it's natural and even recommended, even strongly recommended for women, girls, to get married. Now, again, I don't know your situation, so I cannot really comment for you. But yeah, it's a phase that the Grihastha life, the household life, the family life is generally very, very much pertinent and advisable for women. That's how for now, I guess I'll just stick to that. Okay? Okay, so first verse is the very surprised question by Parikshit Maharaj. Verse number 2. I'm taking a little excerpt from a purport excerpt. For a bhakta to become attached to family life affairs is impossible. Since a bhakta and his associates are liberated, attachment for family affairs and devotional service are incompatible. Okay, now this is important to understand that the style of Srila Prabhupada sometimes is very like here, is very like a radical statement, like attachment for family affairs and devotional service are incompatible. But obviously in many, practically countless other circumstances, Srila Prabhupada obviously explains that yes, Grihastha ashram is an ashram, and devotees practice devotional service, even pure devotional service within the Grihastha ashram. And of course, there is always there is a degree of attachment. I mean, it doesn't have to be just material, bodily attachment, but there is a natural attachment to wife, to husband, to children. We're not a robot, at least not yet. So we are persons, and it's natural that you have attachment, affection for your companion in life. You got to support each other. You must have, must or should have friendship. Naturally, the relation develops in a very harmonious way. And what to speak of the children? It's natural that you love your children. So nobody, I mean, Srila Prabhupada never taught that you shouldn't love your children. So we need to understand that sometimes this type of statements, Srila Prabhupada is making a point, and we could take it not literally, but we could take it that is telling about, say, an extraordinary material attachment or something that is incompatible. Otherwise, obviously, normal circumstances is completely compatible or even recommended, obviously, to have a good relation with one's family members. In fact, we see even great liberated souls and acharyas were married, their children, and they have a very, very nice, very harmonious, very productive, fruitful relations in the whole family. The father, mother were great devotees, the children were great devotees. So here Srila Prabhupada is talking about an excess or an extreme situation in which one is so attached that eclipses his or her devotional service. But generally, it's an essential. In fact, for most people in life, we could say for most of life, the Grihastha ashram, the support of a spouse, is essential, is necessary. In some cases, I would say it's even indispensable, just for the growth of the individual as a person and as a devotee. In the verse number 3, in the translation, we see elevated Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are fully satiated by the shade of those lotus feet. In other words, they're happy just being with Krishna. Their consciousness cannot possibly become attached to family members. Now, Srila Prabhupada in the purport says, one who comes under the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord never becomes attracted by the activities of family life and becomes detached from family life as soon as he comes under the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Now, this type of statements indicate that the lotus feet of the Lord are so satisfying, and for a pure devotee, they are so absorbing and so satiating that obviously the material pleasures of family life become very pale and insignificant, becomes completely trivial. But it does not mean that a devotee, or even a pure devotee, does not have a healthy, natural attachment to his or her family members. And so I want to take a page from the first canto, in which Kunti Devi, this is first canto, chapter 8, text 42. This is one famous prayer by Queen Kunti. She says, O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you, without being diverted to anyone else. And Srila Prabhupada explains, perfection of pure devotional service is attained when all attention is diverted towards the transcendental loving service of the Lord. To cut off the tie of all other affections does not mean complete negation of the finer elements like affection for someone else. This is not possible. A living being, whoever he may be, must have this feeling of affection for others because this is a symptom of life. In other words, it's not possible to live with a person, especially a person so close, like a husband or like a wife, and not have affection. I mean, unless the marriage is terrible, it's a nightmare. Obviously, there will be some love, there will be some affection, some deep connection, deep companionship, and pleasure in being together. I'm not talking physically together. I'm just being in the same house, living, sharing the human experience, sharing the house, sharing children, sharing we could say the troubles of Grihastha life, but being together, being like a team. And Srila Prabhupada even say, a living being must have this feeling of affection for others because this is a symptom of life. Only a dead stone doesn't love. Otherwise, there must be love. Even if somebody doesn't have anybody, they will love their plants. They take care of their plants. They take care of the dogs. They take care of the cats. Although cats do not reciprocate. So they do because it's just I like really this expression because it's a symptom of life. If you're alive, you must have some affection for someone, for something. Okay, so sometimes devotees get a little confused because it is said that, well, there is no love in this material life, there is only lust, right? I mean, you heard this so many times that if you love someone, you may even feel guilty. Now, in the sense that in this material world, when people, of course, most people are selfish and egoistic, love means I just want to enjoy somebody. Like some people say, I love ice cream. I love ice cream. What does it mean? There is no reciprocation. Ice cream is a food, and I enjoy the ice cream. I don't do anything for the ice cream. I don't do any service to the ice cream. So when I say I love ice cream, it's just that I enjoy eating ice cream. So yes, very often, especially in a degraded society, people come together not on the basis of dharma, but on the basis of kama. There's attraction, and of course, there's a normal hormonal function, and people just attracted to each other. They get together for some time. Okay, that's like an animal level of attachment. But civilized people naturally develop what we could call affection. We can call love. It's not a bad word. It's not a four-letter words, although it has four letters. It's not a four letters word, love. So sometimes I notice that devotees get a little bit, I would say almost paranoid. Oh, I love my husband. Oh, I love my wife. You should love your husband. You should love your wife. So all because it's natural. He or she is sharing your journey in life. Second, probably they are also devotees, so you can appreciate their qualities and things, so you can see them as brothers and sisters also, God brothers, God sister, in your path of devotional service. You're getting so much benefit, I hope, from your husband and from your wives, so why you shouldn't love them? They're Vaishnavas. In fact, I continue reading from that purport, 1.842, very important to understand these things. Her affection, her meaning Kunti Devi's affection for the Pandavas and the Vrishni is not out of the range of devotional service. Because the service of the Lord and the service of the devotees are identical. Sometimes service to the devotee is more valuable than service to the Lord. But here the affection of Kunti Devi for the Pandavas and the Vrishni was due to family relation. When Kunti Devi wanted to cut off the family relation, she meant to cut off the relation of the skin. In other words, it's not that she didn't want to love anymore Arjuna or Draupadi or Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula, and Sahadeva. It's not asking that to Krishna. It's not saying, hey, who are these people? I don't want to have anything to do with them. No, but he is saying, let me love them, not just because they're my children. That's what she's saying. Okay? Any question on that? Any confusion on that? I'm stressing this because this can affect very deeply our mental health, our family. We get some sort of contradiction or incongruence. Oh, I shouldn't love my wife. Oh, I shouldn't love my husband. So we become confused. We create a lot of disasters. So some devotees have made a strong determination not to show their face today. We respect that. What can we do? We have a hand from Jagan Mata Sachi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Prabhuji, whatever the little understanding of the relationships like conjugal love and the Vatsalya love and the Sakhya Rasa is the relationship I have in the material world.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, you finished that question?
Yes, but the thing is that how it is possible not to love my kids, my husband, and not to attach. You know, we should serve them, but we shouldn't attach to them. So how it is possible to do that?
It's not possible.
Uh,
See, okay, we understand that the relation, the rasas, are there in the spiritual world with Krishna. Madhurya, Vatsalya, Sakya, Dasya. Now, the same relations are also present in this material world, right? It's called a perverted reflection because definitely they're not eternal. Like you are the wife and he is your husband. Maybe next life you are the husband and he's the wife. Or your son next life will be your father and so on. So definitely they're not, we cannot take them as eternal, permanent. At the same time, there are also what you call recommended. Varnashram is a system of social life, civilized life created by God. I mean, God created a society, created a human form in which they live socially, they reproduce, they procreate, otherwise human life would finish. Okay, they procreate in a certain way, they form families, and the Vedas, the Bhagavatam, and so on, they give instructions how to live in a civilized way, first of all, not to degrade, and ideally also in a harmonious way. And there is so many instructions. You'll see in the 7th canto, Narada Muni describes the duty of a grihasta, the duty of a wife, and so on and so forth. Now, so I think we should relax. We should relax, meaning, okay, we are lucky. We have a husband. We are lucky. We have the wife. We are lucky. We have children, and let's also enjoy this fortune. Quote unquote enjoy, not enjoy like a materialistic man or woman, but let's enjoy, let's be grateful. Thank you, God, that I have a husband who is not completely crazy. Thank you, God, that I have a wife who is chaste. Thank you, God, Krishna, that I have some children who are not just drug addicts. So we should appreciate that. Now, you call it attachment. These English words sometimes have different meanings. And grihasthas should be attached to their families. How can a husband go to work 9 to 5, some crazy boss, some crazy company, and then for the family? They have to have attachment. So this attachment should be processed. That's the idea, that okay, you process your attachment, you work hard as a grihastha, mothers work hard for the children, fathers work hard for the children, they protect each other, father and mother, they live together in their, we could say, youthful years, and then naturally the children move away, you did their best, we'll talk much more about that, you do your best for your children, they move on, now you are a little older, now you don't have to take care of your children because they're gone, and okay, now you are in a phase of vanaprastha. It's kind of natural because you have experienced the troubles and joys of grihastha life. Why a marriage in every culture, a wedding is always a joyful a joyful situation. It's not just Maya. It's not something godless. It's not something that God doesn't like. So when you get married, when you have a family, and when you love your children, you're not doing something against God. In fact, it is said that when it is said many times that when the husband and wife they're very harmonious, the goddess of fortunes will be in that house. You heard that, right? Huh? They must be saying in Hindi. They must be saying in Sanskrit. There's any Hindi saying that somebody wants to share? Sanchanakya Sloka, anybody knows?
Prabhuji, it is like yatra naryanti pujante tatra devta ramante.
Okay, can you translate it for me?
Yes.
Who am very ignorant and don't speak Hindi?
No, Prabhuji. The idea is, the translation is that wherever the woman is respected, the all good fortune comes and arise in that home.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yes, that's also in Manu Samhita, by the way. Yes. So this concept of harmony, this concept of companionship, cooperation, collaboration, symphony, being in the same wavelength. This is beautiful. It is very favorable to devotional service for a devotee. See, for a non-devotee, he will just, it's called Griyamedi. He will just think of always of the children. He was okay. He wants them to become established in society. He's thinking always of the wife, maybe as an object of attraction physically, sexually, like that. But for a devotee, it's different. No, my husband and wife, they help each other in spiritual life. Sometimes the husband is stronger. Sometimes the wife is stronger. Sometimes the husband advises the wife. Sometimes the wife advises the husband. Of course, every relation is different. And the children, when you are attached to your children, you're not just thinking, oh, they should get a degree and get the important job. You also think, oh, they should also become devotees of Krishna. They should also develop that aspect of their life. So through this, you get purified, and then you'll be ready to move on at one point. First of all, the children will move on because that's the nature of the world, and you will be ready. Okay, you have experienced that. You are being a mother. You have taken care 20 years, 25 years, sometimes 30 years. Okay, now they're gone. You're done. Does it help? Jagamata Sachi Mataji? You're a double Mataji because Jagat Mata Sachi Mata. Okay, does it make sense? Am I saying something strange or radical or revolutionary? Devotees should be normal and be normal. Normal wife, normal husbands, loving husband, loving wives, love your children, and just be happy with what Krishna gave you. And obviously, because you're devotees, you will do it in Krishna consciousness. When you go and read something when the children go to sleep, you'll read the Bhagavatam, you'll be Krishna book. You'll not read the Shakespeare. Of course, Shakespeare is not so good for sleeping. I'm just saying, you'll read something spiritual. Okay? So don't complain to your temple authorities. Kaunteya Das said we should love the husband, we should love the wife. Because you should love your husband, you should love your wife. After all, they are also part and parcel of Krishna. So you want to love Krishna, not the part and parcel? Or you want to love the whole world, but not your husband? It's like, come on, this is some sort of almost like a mental disorder. We are taught that all humanity is our family, right? They're all part and parcel of Krishna. So we should love everybody, but not your wife. It's like, but I'm joking, but this can create a lot of problems because devotees, that's what the artificial kind of renunciation that we're talking about. Okay, so Kunti Devi ki jai. So we learn from her. Now, I was told that there will be a break. We have 3 hours together. There will be a break of 10 minutes. Is it a Gayatri break or is it just a break, like a natural educational break? So what time we take the break? What time you want to take the break? Is it after 1.5 hours? So that means like in about 50 minutes, something like that? That's how it works? Okay, so we go on another 15 minutes and then we take a break. And in the break, go and show some love to your family. Okay, that's like homework for the break. Do something loving. Say something loving. Whoever is in your house, children, father, maybe you have your parents with you. That's the, I'll give you 2 minutes extra break. So we'll take 12 minutes break. So you have time to do something nice. Just do or say and do something loving for people live in your house. Okay? Okay? Okay. And I'll check. When we come back, I'll ask you what we did. Okay, so again, Parikshit Maharaj, 514. How was it possible for a person like him, Priyavrata, who was so attached to wife, children, and home, to achieve the topmost infallible perfection in Krishna consciousness? In other words, he lived for a long time. We'll see later. He will live for a long time with wife, actually wives, 2 wives, and children. I think 2 wives or 1 wife. I don't know. I might be confused with somebody else. But he had the children, wife, and he was living for so long. And so Maharaj Parikshit say, how is possible he got the perfection of Krishna consciousness? So, verse 5, Srila Prabhupada says there are 2 types of impediments. This is very subtle, almost mysterious, I would say. Quote, according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the first is an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. This is called Vaishnava Parada, described as the mad elephant offense. This we know, okay? We know. Sometimes, however, the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee desires to impede one's devotional service. Thus, the desire of the Lord is another kind of impediments. But in both cases, the pure devotee, once advanced in Krishna consciousness, cannot be lost. Following the orders of his superiors, Swayambhuva and Lord Brahma, Priyavrata accepted family life, but this did not mean he lost his position in devotional service. Now, 6th verse, I read the translation. The prince's father, that means Swayambhuva Manu, then asked him to take charge of ruling the world. He tried to convince Priyavrata that this was his duty, as indicated in the revealed scriptures. Although the order of his father could not be rejected, the prince did not welcome it. Thus, he very conscientiously raised the question of whether he might be diverted from devotional service by accepting the responsibility of ruling the world. So, if you see the Sanskrit, if you see the verses, it's very subtle, but it was very clear that Priyavrata Maharaj was simultaneously very respectful to the father, his Manu, Swayambhuva Manu. At the same time, he really didn't like the idea. I mean, he was happily there with Narada Muni, all day serving the Guru, all day meditating, all day experiencing. Remember, he was Atmarama, he was really self-realized. So he really did not want to enter family life. So for him was a big burden. Although he was asking to become a king, not a cobbler or a Swiss or a bricklayer. He was asking to become the king. But still he didn't like. This is beautiful because It's sometimes people are so obsessed by position, and they forget that position will not satisfy your heart. In this case, Priyavrata, his heart was satisfied, was happy. So he didn't look for position. He was not attracted. He really did not like, that did not welcome it. And in a very subtle way, because everything is very cultured, these are very civilized, the most civilized people in the universe. Basically, he was rejecting the idea. Say, why should I go? No, like that. Remember, if you have any questions, you can either put it in the chat or just raise your hand. I'll see your hand. And we'll talk. Okay. Question or comments, experience you want to share. So, Srila Prabhupada says in the next purport, this is text 7. King Uttanapada ruled over the universe because his elder brother Priyavrata practiced austerity from the very beginning of his life. He just chose a different life. Thus, up to the point of the Prachetas, we said that the kings of the universe were all descendants of Uttanapada Maharaj. Since there were no suitable kings after the Prachetas, Swayambhuva Manu went to the Gandha Madhana hill to bring back his elder son, Priyavrata, who was meditating there. Now, where is this Gandha Madhana hill? Later on in the 5th canto, you'll have all this whole discussion of the cosmology of the Bhagavatam. And it's potentially confusing, also because there are names of places in the earth, but they also have a different dimension. Like the Himalayas is called the Himalayas, and we know the Himalayas in India, but they're the Himalayas of Bhumandala. They're described like 16,000 miles high. So they're called in the same way, but they are different. Or we could say there are the Himalayas of our experience. You're in Delhi, you can just probably see the Himalayas outside your window. So there is the Himalayas of your experience, of our experience, and the Himalayas experienced by other beings. So, for instance, this Gandha Madhana hill, you will see when you come to the discussion of Jambudvipa, there is this Gandha Madhana hill, which is very high. It's around Mount Meru. From the top of Mount Meru, the Ganga comes on Gandha Madhana hill. At the same time, once Srila Prabhupada also says, okay, Gandha Madhana hill is considered the northernmost part of the Himalayas, where Narayan Rishi resides. So, as I said, this could be all very confusing. We'll discuss a little bit more later when Priyavrata creates the islands in Bhumandala. But for now, let's say that it's not 100% clear what dimension Priyavrata Maharaj was living. If this Himalayas of our experience, or the Himalayas, or Gandha Madhana hill of our understanding, or Gandha Madhana hill of the more like broader demigod understanding. In fact, later Srila Prabhupada says it's not easy to understand where Priyavrata was. You'll see later, some of you already read the chapter. I understand that I was told that only 40% of you read the chapter in advance. Is it true? Anyway, are you supposed to read the chapter in advance? What was the contract? You are supposed. Our teacher energetically nods. I'm sure she does it. but I hear that not many people do. Anyway, so later on, those who read, they know. Those who didn't read will discover it later. You can see that what Priyavrata does is quite inconceivable from a human point of view. Okay, so stay tuned. There is another interesting, what I find interesting line in the purport, text 7, because, quote, because ruling over this universe is a great responsibility, Brahma must force many Manus in different ages to take charge of universal affairs. So it's interesting that Brahma must force the Manus. No, now you got to manage. Now you got to administer. Now you got to take this cosmic headache. So sometimes we may have like a mechanicistic or mechanical idea of the universe, that everything works like clockwork. Certain things, those who are managed by God, work directly by God or by very qualified people like the sun god. They work like clockwork. But there are also sometimes different snags. Sometimes there is a soul who's not so qualified. So sometimes God himself, Krishna himself, has to become Brahma or has to become Indra. So as it's not, we should not have an idea, we could say impersonal idea. These are real people. These are real people, and sometimes they don't like to take these responsibilities. Like us, sometimes we don't like to do a service which is very tough, either for the temple or a job that we have to do, but we have to do, and sometimes we need to be encouraged. We need to be preached to. You need to do it because it's very good for you. This is your dharma. We'll see. Brahma, we'll see probably tomorrow. We'll see how Brahma preaches to Priyavrata Maharaj. You got to do these things because we are all doing it. Brahma is doing. Me, I'm Brahma. I'm doing. Shiva is doing. Everybody is doing because God wants this. And of course, we know sometimes we don't like, even if we know that ultimately is good for us and it's our duty, sometimes we don't like it. So there's needed of this encouragement. Also at this very, very high levels of the universal hierarchy. Sometimes people need to be encouraged. You got to take this responsibility. Okay, so now, according to our value system, or we could say our value orientations, we think what's prestigious, what's valuable, what's higher, what's desirable. And for some people, taking a position, a prestigious position, a role, it's very attractive. For other people, it's not. Because some people are in passion and they look at the benefits they can get, the material benefit, the respect, the facilities, the advantages, even material advantages that they can come even from a service. Other devotees may do it purely out of duty because it needs to be done. Otherwise, they wouldn't be attracted. They may be doing exactly the same thing, but one may be because it's attached to that, and another devotee because it's a duty, somebody has to do it. And okay, I'm here, my guru asked me, the devotee is asking me, and I do it, not because I'm attracted. So there are basically two ways of getting a position. One, because you want the position, and because you want the position, because you think that this position will make you happy, which will not. I'll tell you, spoiler alert, the position will not make you happy. But you think this position, this control over others will make you happy, so you work for the position. Another way, the more healthy way, the more sattvic way, you have an interest in the service. You have a passion. And by passion, I don't mean the guna passion. You have a drive, a personal interest. You want something to be developed in that field. It could be the kitchen, it could be the garlands, it could be the deity dressing, it could be the book distribution, it could be any aspect of the community life. But you have a drive. You don't care for the position, but because you care, then the position is given to you as a result of your love, as a result of your investment in that area. Maybe you're very attached to book distribution and you're organizing and you're encouraging others. Maybe you don't have any position, okay, but you're very enthusiastic, okay, let's organize, let's go out. And then somebody noticed that and they say, hey, why don't you be responsible for book distribution, or at least one part of it? And somebody may think in the other way, less healthy, I would like to be in charge. I would like to be the head. I would like to be the person controlling this aspect, like that. So we need to be a little bit introspective and see what is our motivation. Some motivations are more healthy and therefore they're more satisfactory to us. And some are a little unhealthy, just search for a role, search for a name, search for prestige. And that never ends because you can become anything. What's the highest position in ISKCON? In one sense, it's chairman of the governing body commission, okay? Or you could say guru. But that in itself it will not satisfy your soul. I mean, the soul is you. It will not satisfy your mind. It will not satisfy you. Unless, of course, you do it with affection, with love. You do it to please the Lord. See, becoming a leader in a spiritual society simply means that you serve more people. That's the meaning of leadership. Now, you're serving already a range of people, but when you become a leader, it means you serve more people. That's a spirit, that's a function. Now, if instead of the service mood, you're trying to enjoy that position, that will never work because it's incompatible with the soul. It's incompatible with bhakti. Or if not incompatible with bhakti, is conflicting with bhakti. Okay, so it's 11:31 here in Mayapur, I believe also in Delhi, right? In Pakistan is what, 11:01? Okay, so wherever you are in the world, we meet back in 12 minutes. So let's say at 11:44. Okay, 11:44. So you have your 10 minutes break, and you have the homework of doing something nice, something loving to somebody who lives in your house. If there's nobody in the house, don't come back. Oh, there was nobody. No, pick up your phone, which you probably love. So take your very lovable phone and call. So say something nice, do something loving. Thank you. See you in 12 minutes. Hare Krishna. Okay, we are back. Hare Krishna. So, homework. We listened from at least 5 people about your homework. You're showing something loving to somebody in your household. Children, parents, spouse, whatever. So who wants to go first? Yes, Antaryami Balaram, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just bought Prabhuji a glass of water to my wife.
Without saying anything.
Yeah, I mean, she was doing Gayatri, so I didn't say anything. But
So basically you disturbed her. That was your act of love.
we just put a glass of water and that's it. Couldn't
Okay.
say.
Okay, but later don't say, look, I will never do it, but because I got the homework, so I did it. Don't say that. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Next. I hope you did not especially wait for her to do the Gayatri so you didn't have to say anything. Because the devotees sometimes they become very tricky, you know. Say, well, you know, I couldn't say anything because she was doing Gayatri, you know.
No, I had no idea that she was doing.
Okay, okay. Next, thank you. Thank you, Antaryami Prabhu. Next. Come on, at least 4 more. Ganga Shakti Mataji.
So, Prabhuji, I appreciated when he got the glass of water and I got to know that he had got it.
Okay, okay. So what did you tell?
And then I also warmed up something for him to eat and then I gave it to him with all my love.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Thank you. Thank you both. Jagat Mata Sachi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just hugged my son and said to him, "Beta, कुत्ता भी साफ करके बैठता है अपने आसपास." He was sitting and studying.
What's the
We
translation?
were all the things are scattered around him.
What? How is that loving? How does it work?
I told him that that you should clean around him.
Oh,
Around him.
that doesn't count. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry. 1 o'clock, you go back, you redo the homework. I mean, just say, you say that every day, right? You say that every day. So what's the difference?
So, uh, ordinary days I clean it myself. Today I'm having class, so I said it to clean it.
So it's less loving. Every day you clean yourself. Today, as an act of love, you say you clean yourself. It's a bit, I don't know, maybe I didn't explain the exercise. No,
Oh,
maybe you just did it in such a loving way that he was overwhelmed. But maybe do it again in a more, without instructions, just show that your appreciation. But thank you for trying. Sometimes it's difficult because we don't do it, you know. Okay, we have Leela Priya Shyam Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I cooked vegetable porridge for my husband, which I usually do, but today he's not well, so I cooked vegetable porridge, and I'm about to serve him because it took time. It wasn't done in 12 minutes. So I'll show you that what I cooked, and then I'll take it to my husband.
Okay. I hope you
But
appreciate
in
it.
these 12 minutes, I called my sister-in-law. It's her wedding anniversary. I wish her, and now I'm going to serve it to my husband. That's it, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, now we have Rukmini Harisevini Devidasi.
Prabhuji, I called my mother and I talked to her. And after the conversation, I said, Mom, I love you. So she said, I love you too.
Good, very good. You see, thank you. This is very important because sometimes we do love people and we should love people, but we never tell them. And sometimes we think that, no, it's obvious. No, it's not obvious. Sometimes the show of affection makes a big difference. And sometimes when we don't do it, then we regret that these people were not going to be around forever, right? And so we should, every occasion should be an opportunity for some exchange of love. Yes, sometimes you got to correct your children. Yes, sometimes you have to just say something practical. But every opportunity, every interaction should be a pleasant interaction and an expression of gratitude, expression of appreciation, expression of love. It starts with the family. You can't just do it with the guru and the temple president. And okay, thank you very much. I hope everybody else did it. Otherwise, I mean, the law karma will take care of you, of course. Okay, so we are here. Priyavrata is really not liking this instruction. Is really not liking this this request by his father. So then Brahma arrives, and in the verse number 8, we see the Brahma arrives. It doesn't just come alone. It comes with the so many other great personalities. Said that the people from Siddhaloka, Gandharvaloka, Sadyaloka, Charaloka, the great sages, and so on, they all came there with Brahma. So it was a major scene. Obviously, we are talking about a major appointment of to the universal affairs. So it's a very big scene. It's also described in the next verse how Narada Muni sees the swan carrier, which, if you remember in the third canto explained, it's a mechanical swan. not the real swan, I mean, not the organic swan, but the Narada Muni sees the swan and understand, oh, Brahma is coming. It's just like a great personality. He comes in a vehicle. Like sometime back, this Mamata Banerjee, you know Mamata Banerjee, right? She's the chief minister of West Bengal. So she came to Mayapur with an helicopter. And obviously, when the devotees saw the helicopter, they knew, oh, this is Mamata Banerjee. Though they couldn't see her, obviously, but they saw the helicopter. And that's enough for the identification. So similarly, Narada Muni is not seeing Brahma, he's seeing the swan and understands, okay, this is Brahma coming on his swan. And now I want to show you a PowerPoint. If I can get Zoom to work, obviously. Yes, share screen. Now, this is the picture. I'm sure you saw this picture many times. And as you can see, the picture doesn't really give the whole picture. Sorry, the picture doesn't give the whole picture because here is just Brahma, Swayambhuva Manu on the left, Priyavrata dressed as a ISKCON Brahmachari, and Narada Muni. But there are many other people. They said also there is Lord Shiva, so it's a major reunion. But this episode, it's not just important historically because it's the change of the guard, meaning it's a change of position from the dynasty of Uttanapada Maharaj to Priyavrata Maharaj. And so this is a tension that we see at every level of the universe. The tension between the guru-shishya relation, between the institution or the administrative aspect, and also the social dimension, meaning the family and all those type of connections. Ideally, they should all be harmonious, but sometimes there is some tension. It's natural that there is some tension. So I'm going to show you this PowerPoint, a PowerPoint which was developed by the GBC Organizational Development Committee when I was a co-chair of that. And the GBC was presented also the GBC College. I don't know if you ever heard about this topic, the ISKCON 3 ecosystems. And the question is conflict or cooperation? So first of all, what's an ecosystem? It's the complex of living organisms, their physical environment, and all their interrelationships in a particular unity of space. Like here you have a pond ecosystem. There's a pond, there are birds, there are type of insects, there are other tadpoles. Tadpoles means the children of the frogs. There are different water plants outside. There are other animals, snail. There's a sun giving light and so on. That's like ecosystem. Okay, that's the pond, and that's all that contribute to that ecosystem. So we use this as an analogy of 3 ecosystems which form ISKCON. So you have the organization, you can call it the institution, you can call the legal incorporation, you could say the official aspect of ISKCON. Then you have the social, the devotees, especially grihastas, who live, they have their own finance, they have their own housing, they have their own families. That's the social. And then there is a guru shishya, which is another ecosystem, another aspect, is the guru and the disciple. And by guru disciple, I don't only mean the Diksha guru and the disciple. I also mean their whole relation with the Shiksha guru, instructing, that basically the relation based especially on the transmission of knowledge. Okay? So when you see all these three together, that's ISKCON. And because each has got different priorities, different functioning, sometimes there is tension. So that's the whole of ISKCON, let's say that arm. And through the Guru Shishya, through having the spiritual master and the disciples, the teachers and the students, through the organization, the formal, let's say, temples and other institutional aspect, and then the social life of the members, ideally, they should all nourish bhakti. That's the goal for all three. But it's done in different ways. The Guru may just teach the disciple. That's his duty as a guru. The organization has to take care of temples, building temples, maintaining temples, fighting sometimes legal battles and so on, like you know about the Bangalore case and so on. The social, you nurture bhakti through acting in Varnashram, you're doing the Grihastha ashram or whatever ashram you are. That's your social life, your environment, your other obligations, which are supposed to be illuminated by the guru, but obviously they're not necessarily directly managed by the guru, obviously. Now, since I'm not seeing the gallery while I show the PowerPoint, if you have any question or comment, just pick up and we'll take it at any time. So now this is a graphic. So the Guru Shishya obviously is connected to the organization. It's actually part of the organization because the whole organization, it's a network of gurus and disciples. Also the managers are their gurus and so on, but function in a particular way. Organization certainly is connected to the social. Devotees go to the temple, interact with the management and so on. And of course, the Guru Shishya also is connected with the social. You may go home, or certainly the information from the Guru should inform how we live our life. This graphic may be better if they were interwoven or overlapping, because they're not really separated. There is a lot of overlap. Then there is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness that should illuminate all three: how you run a temple, how you become a guru, how you become a disciple, how you become a father, how you become a mother. The philosophy should inform, but there is also the local ISKCON culture that influences the whole interrelations. And then there is the environment. The environment obviously has an influence. Like for instance, in some place like China, you cannot have temples like you can have in India. In Delhi, how many temples you have now? 17 or 17,000. I don't know how many you have. But in China, they cannot have temples. So definitely the environment also shapes how some of these things are done. Okay, so that's a like overall picture. And again, imagine these circles more overlapping. Ananda Leela Mataji, raised hand, please.
Prabhu, can you explain what do you mean by ISKCON culture?
Okay, how certain things are done in a particular ISKCON. Certain values, certain attitudes that the ISKCON members have, certain ways of running temples or thinking of the different genders, for instance. I'll give you an example. In India, the ISKCON culture is that many leaders, not all, certainly not all, but many leaders are against Vaishnavis, Diksha Gurus, are against the ideas of women taking up the role of initiating disciples. In America, basically, almost nobody, I'm not saying nobody, but almost nobody is against the idea of women initiating disciples, of course, if they are qualified, like that. So there is a certain mood. In America, for instance, you have at least 4 or 5 temple presidents were women. Some time of important temple, Chicago, or big community like Alachua in Florida, or historical temples where women are temple presidents. Now, in India, as far as I know, there is not even one woman who is temple president. In America, women are certainly very much part of the leadership. Certainly, we have zonal supervisors who are women, more than one in North America. In India, as far as I know, there's nobody. So this is just one example. Of course, it's an important example because we deal with men and women, it's two genders. So how you see the role of the gender, it's part of ISKCON culture. There are many, many, many other aspects, but this is a prominent aspect. How do you see, or how a local ISKCON sees the role of the gender? Did I answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
And by ISKCON culture, culture has many, many aspects. I mean, we could talk hours about culture. There are like tangible aspects like food. Different ISKCONs, they eat a different type of food. Like in China, the devotees don't like Indian food. They just eat Chinese food. So there are many aspects of culture, of how people see themselves, or how people see the role of men and women, or how their attitudes toward many things in life. Like, for instance, in some country, the devotees are very much against gay marriage, same-sex marriage. In some countries, the devotees are very accepting in general about same-sex marriage. Sometimes, very often, my observation is the ISKCON culture reflects the environment. In other words, the environment, say in Russia. In Russia, the government and Russia as a country is very against, generally against same-sex marriage. And my observation, devotees are also against. In place like Brazil, it's legal. It's legal for people of the same gender to get married. And generally, devotees are also supportive of that. That, yeah, they want to get married, same-sex marriage, it's fine. They don't have a problem with that, like that. Okay? Okay, meaning you understand the meaning of ISKCON culture and also the influence of the environment. I don't see you, so if you could say yes or no, if you want to extend the question.
Yes. So we can say like culture, ISKCON culture it could vary according to time, place, circumstance. Just that if they are following the principle, and the details would vary according to different situations.
Not necessarily. Ideally, it should be like that. Ideally, it should be like that the principles are common and the details vary, but sometimes there is conflict or discussion or debate, even of what are principles and what are not principles.
Okay.
So sometimes there are very deep differences. And here I'm only presenting a general picture. I'm not saying this is right, this is wrong. I'm just saying these debates, these differences do exist. Okay? Who is right, who is wrong, etc., and so on. That's a different discussion. Okay, so the environment, as I said, also affects the whole working. So, okay, so they are overlapping, Guru Shisha, the institution, the social. We understand that. To give an analogy, it's just like the nervous, osseous, and digestive systems. It's a part of the same body, but they're quite different. You see, this is the nervous system. It's basically the transmission of knowledge, of electric impulses, we could say, and they work in a certain way. It's very fast. You touch something hot, immediately you know it is hot or cold. And again, it's based on transmission of information. Now the skeleton is like the structure of the body. Without the skeleton, the body would be a shapeless lump of flesh. So this works in a different way, right? The bones grow very slowly. If you break a rib, it takes months to reconnect and so on. And then they could say the digestive system. Digestive system is also slower than the nervous system. You eat, it takes many hours to digest, like that. So they are part of the same system. They're part of the same organism, the same body, but they work sufficiently differently that you can study them in isolation. But they're part of the same thing. So similarly, it's part of Vaishnava society to have an institution, legal institution, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, say ISKCON India, that owns the temples and works in a certain way. Okay, that we could say is like the skeleton in one sense. And obviously, these analogies have limits, but just to understand, that's like the structure, legal structure. Then you have, say, Guru Shisha is the transmission of knowledge, is transmission of Shastric information. I repeat, Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, and so on. Then you have digestive system. It's like the whole Varnashram, the whole family life. You process things. You have a baby. It takes 20 years, 25 years before they can walk away, sometimes more. So it works in a different way, but it's part of the Vaishnava community, it's part of Vaishnava life, it's part of your progress. So they are interconnected, they are interdependent, but they are not interchangeable. They have to work in different ways. And they have different functions. So consensus is difficult because perspectives are different. Sometimes why there is tension or conflict, like we see with Priyavrata. The perspective are different. Priyavrata is thinking of his own liberation. First of all, he is happy in Krishna consciousness. Second, is thinking of his liberation. That's his perspective and priority. Narada Muni, as the guru of Priyavrata, is thinking of the ultimate benefit of his disciple. He should get Krishna Prema, he should go back home, back to Godhead. That's the guru's business. Narada Muni is not an administrator of the universe. It's not an administrative deva. Is Devarshi, Deva Rishi, is the deva among the rishi. It's not Indra or Chandra or Varuna or some other administrative demigod. And Brahma and Swayambhuva Manu, let's say Swayambhuva Manu, obviously is an administrator. He has to see the hierarchy, the structure, the functioning of the universe. You need a king, you need somebody in charge. So that's his perspective, that's his priority, that's his need. And therefore consensus is difficult. And I like very much this scene, this vignette as an example, because you have all three together. Brahma is the guru of Narada Muni. He is also the father of Swayambhuva Manu. So he is a guru Shishya line, and is also a social line. And he's also the institutional organizational life, because he's the demigod in charge of the whole universe. So you could see that there is a tension between the Guru Shishya, Narada Priyavrata, the social, Swayambhuva Priyavrata, and then the institutional of the whole, the institutional. This universe needs management, So ISKCON, sometimes different people see ISKCON in different way. Some, like the famous, you heard probably many times, the idea of the blind man. One thinks, oh, the elephant is just like a snake because it's touching the tail. One say, no, the elephant is like a big wall because it's touching the stomach. And somebody say, no, the elephant is like a tree because it's touching the trunk. So ISKCON, sometimes you may say, well, ISKCON is Varnashram. You have this social organization and people fit in different ashrams and different varnas or the family. Okay, this is a community of families all together. Somebody say, no, ISKCON are the temples. The temples, open more temples, big people, do this on the program and that. Somebody else say, no, ISKCON is the transmission of knowledge, the education. There are gurus, there are teachers, there are students. That's the essence of ISKCON. So sometimes there is tension because people see only their part of ISKCON. Now, in the early 70s, the three were homogenized, almost indistinguishable. The Guru Shishya, everybody was Srila Prabhupada disciple. So there's no difference. There's no different, we could say, sub-families of different gurus. Now there are. And sometimes, especially in India, there is tension. Oh, we are disciples of this guru. We are not with the other group, which is a disciple of another guru. That's especially in India. But it's there. Before, everybody was Srila Prabhupada disciple. Second, in the early 70s, basically everybody was living in the organization, living in the temple. So there was no real dichotomy or difference between the organization, the residents of the ashrams, and the social life, because it was all one. Okay? Then, as ISKCON spread in a natural way, in an organic way, those things got diversified. Now you have different gurus and different shishyas. Now you have the social life very much differentiated from the institutional life, meaning you have your job, you have your house, you have a bank account, you have a family, and then you may have also some interconnection with the temple or with the official ISKCON activities, but it's separate, definitely clearly separate. Okay. And then your guru in the institution, now maybe your guru is into administration, maybe it's a GBC, or maybe it's not. And certainly at that time, the guru was Srila Prabhupada, is the founder Acharya, and is responsible for the whole institution. Some gurus nowadays, they're not really responsible in the sense of, they don't have to manage a temple or a zone. So their interest, their focus is, okay, I teach my disciples, I inspire them, I enthuse them in spiritual life. Sometimes what happened, the Guru Shishya becomes more prominent than the organization and the social. Sometimes the social, the family needs, the dynamics become more prominent than Guru Shishya and organization. And sometimes the organization becomes more prominent than social or Guru Shishya. If you have any question, please raise your hand. I can see that you raise your hand, or you can speak directly and we can discuss. Now, as I said before, these are archetypal dimensions. We say the word ecosystem. This is like Ekalavya. He wanted a guru, Dronacharya. This happened near Delhi, right? So he wanted a guru, but the guru didn't want it. So there was a, we could say, incongruence or problem in the guru-shishya relation. because he wanted to be a disciple. The guru didn't want it, but he kind of forced himself as a disciple. And as we know, then the result was that Drona said, okay, you learn archery by worshiping me, now you got to cut your thumb so that you can't be an archer anymore. See in the back on the left, there is that murti of Dronacharya that he was worshipping. So definitely it was a problematic situation. It was not just a smooth, like the Pandavas or the Kauravas were clearly disciples of Dronacharya. They were clearly being instructed by them, by him. So in that case, the Guru Shishya was very clear, but with Ekalavya was not. You have another kind of difficult situation. You have same Dronacharya that at the end he asked as a Guru Dakshin, he asked to capture Drupada. You know the story, right? Either because you read Mahabharata or because you saw some TV serial. In any case, you know the story. And that was also kind of an incongruence because now the Guru engaging the disciple. Of course, he was a Guru not in the Bhakti system, was a Guru in the Dhanurveda, but they engaged the disciple in a certain kind of unusual way to kind of get revenge of Drupada. Then here is Vena. We could say it's Vena because he looks very ugly. Here is Vena, and definitely there the institutional monarchy, which was supposed to protect the Brahmani culture, completely went against Brahmin culture. So you just studied the fourth canto. So that's like a problem between the hierarchy of the state in this case and Brahminical life, which is the Guru Shishya sharing knowledge type of part. This is another case of tension. You have Shukracharya, who is supposed to be the guru, but in this case, he teaches his disciple Bali Maharaj against the path of bhakti, against the path of surrender to God. So and therefore there was this tension. Okay, Bali Maharaj, whom is he going to listen to? Is he going to listen to his material guru? Is he going to listen to Vamanadeva? And in this case, there is a tension between Guru Shishya and social. Shukracharya was the guru of Bali Maharaj, but was also depending on Bali Maharaj economically. So for Bali Maharaj to give everything to Vamanadeva was we could say, very much affected the economic and social situation of Shukracharya, right? So there was this tension. He could not just say, yeah, give everything. Or he could, if he was a devotee, he would have done that. But in this case, he said, no, don't give anything. Then this is very, very much another aberration. No, this is Ravana. He dressed like a guru as a sannyasi just to kidnap Sita. So obviously it's a disturbance and it's a disruption, it's a deviation of what the sannyasi should do. Basically use this sannyas dress just for sense gratification, for doing something very irreligious and adharmic. Then he tries to kidnap Sita, you see. That he could not have done if he was just presenting himself as Ravana. This is another story that you just study in the fourth canto. This is Indra. There was a tension because Indra did not want Prithu didn't plan to do that, but Indra did not want Prithu to accumulate enough credit to become Indra. So he took up, like here, the sannyas dress to steal the horse of sacrifice. So there was a tension between the institution of monarchy, institution of even the universal hierarchy, and spiritual life. So he kind of became like a guru just to steal the horse. So adharma. And here we see Dhritarashtra that due to family attachment, in this case, very materialistic family attachment, he did not let the Pandavas peacefully become the kings. So there was a tension because his social life, his children were more important than the dharma of the Pandavas becoming the legitimate emperors of Hastinapura. So tension between social, family attachment, and the institution of monarchy. And this is another tension between institution and Shishya, Guru Shishya. The Brahmanas are supposed to be the protectors of the Kshatriyas, the teachers of the Kshatriya. But here Shringi, you see Shringi the kid, is cursing Maharaj Parikshit for a very small mistake, or we could say a small inappropriate action. Shamika Rishi was meditating, Parikshit Maharaj was thirsty, he asked some water. He thought, of course, it's all Yoga Maya, but he thought that, okay, this sage, because he's a Brahmana, is snubbing me, is disregarding, neglecting me. So he put that snake on him. So it was a small thing, but so he didn't deserve to die for that. I mean, in any where in the world you put the dead snake, yeah, it's insulting, but it's not like a death penalty type of thing. But Shringi cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die. And in fact, the father was very sad, You should not have done that. We are supposed to be the benefactors of. So Guru Shishya acts to neutralize the institutional monarchy. Okay, so these are all examples. This is a very graphic example. Social and Guru Shishya. Narada is the guru, and Daksha is, of course, a Prajapati. He's interested in procreation, in filling up the universe with people, and Daksha curses the guru, Narada, because of doing his duty. He did the duty of turning all the Haryasvas and Shavalasvas into brahmacharis. I mean, they were already brahmacharis, but they were preparing to get married. And Narada Muni spoke with them, first the Haryasvas, then the Shavalasvas, and just say, don't go for the Grihasthashram. Basically the same he was doing with Priyavrata. So there was this tension. So this reconnects to the tension that we are discussing today. Any question or comment?
This is very nice, Prabhuji. So many examples you have given from so many scriptures. It's really put things into perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm doing this also because it's relevant to today's situation in our ISKCON. Sometimes we feel maybe some discomfort or some confusion, and we need to understand the map. What are the elements? And again, we should not be, we could say, surprised, because this is throughout the universe, throughout the Bhagavatam. It's not just ISKCON. It's not just, oh, it's Kali Yuga. No, it's just like an implicit, intrinsic adjustment that needs to be taken into consideration. In other words, first, each ecosystem should be healthy by itself, but there should also be healthy interactions. And sometimes either the ecosystem is not healthy, and the interaction is not healthy. So Ganga Mataji raises her hand.
Prabhuji, just to carry forward what you just shared, that the existence of conflict is very natural in any society, any organizational interaction. First of all, I just wanted to request you to share some simple tips which we can use to become more, to have a reconciliatory approach towards conflicts. And also to people that we, while preaching to people, how do we inculcate this maturity that it's okay to have conflicts and that we can always work around them even if we can't resolve them completely.
As you said, the word maturity, that's often is missing because many people either they're not trained to understand, so they kind of panic when they see conflict. They think in a idealistic way or utopian way that, oh, this is ISKCON, this is Krishna consciousness, everybody should be perfect or should be perfect harmony, just all butterflies and unicorns floating around. But obviously, these tensions, the tensions between priorities, even legitimate priorities, so tensions between priorities, between points of view, perspectives, between services even. We could see, for instance, the story of Govinda. Let's stop sharing for a moment. The story of Govinda, he was the servant of Lord Chaitanya, and one day after the kirtan, Lord Chaitanya just lay down across the door of Gambhira, so with the feet inside. Now, Govinda's service was to offer massage the lotus feet and legs of the Lord, but he couldn't without entering. He said, please, can you just move a little bit so I can enter? And Lord Chaitanya said, no, I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted, I can't even move a muscle. Then Govinda was faced with this dilemma. Do I cross over Lord Chaitanya, which is offensive, and then I do my service, or I stay outside and I don't do my service? So there you have a conflict between two bona fide ideas, one to avoid crossing and one to do one service. So he decided, took a chadar, he covered Lord Chaitanya, then he crossed over, which generally will never done. Then he did the service and he massaged his feet. And then he stayed inside. After some 40-45 minutes, Lord Chaitanya woke up and he saw Govinda there and said, why you didn't go and take prasad yourself? And he said, and Govinda said, no, because I had to cross yourself. And then Lord Chaitanya said, but you already crossed myself. You already crossed me to enter and do the service. Govinda didn't say anything. But Lord Chaitanya was very, very happy. He understood completely the mentality. So Govinda was even ready to do an offense to do his service, to please Lord Chaitanya. But he was not willing to do the same inappropriate action just to go and eat. So he would rather starve, he would rather wait than cross again Lord Chaitanya. So sometimes these tensions or these conflicts, sometimes, not always, but sometimes are because the people see definitely things in a different way, or there are conflicting principles. And sometimes both principles are sort of healthy. Now, how to explain? Like you said, it needs maturity. It needs to understand that, yes, this movement is made of human beings, and human beings are human beings, and human beings sometimes fight. There is a way of fighting meaning debating, discussing, disagreeing. There is a way of doing it in a civilized way. There is the whole conflict resolution training, conflict resolution, mediation, and so on, done in a civilized way, in a congenial way, or it could become very nasty. It could be start saying name calling, insulting, or even more, sometimes even violent, physical violence. So, as you said, the key is maturity. So whoever is the adult in the room, you know this expression, the adult in the room, they should work to diffuse tension and propose and promote solutions which are sattvic. Everything can be handled in the three gunas. Even conflict, we can handle in a very destructive way, tamoguna. We can handle in a very self-interest way, selfish way, in rajaguna, or we could try to handle in a sattvic way, thinking of the long-term relation, thinking of the long-term benefit, not just try to win the day, but emphasizing the connection, emphasizing the service, emphasizing the satisfaction of our gurus, founder acharyas, other acharyas, and ultimately Krishna. There is no like silver bullet, like, okay, a quick solution. So we need to create a culture in ISKCON so that there is enough training, because there are ways to deal with conflict in a sattvic way. There are ways, but it needs to create so many people who have the culture, who have the practical training that are available. This is given values. This is given is valued to do these things, and not just in a political way or in a force way, brute force way, or like the law of the jungle. And so gradually, as the movement evolves, we hope and pray, and we should work to create an environment where conflicts can be managed in a sattvic way.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anything else from anybody? Okay, we go back to this PowerPoint. So these were the historical Puranic Ityasa examples. Srila Prabhupada says the human society means a society which is making progress towards spiritual realization. So ultimately, everything should be based and aimed towards that. What's good for spiritual realization? Ultimately, going back home, back to God. So this progress, this idea of progressing, sometimes the organization can choke up the guru shishya. Say, for instance, sometimes a manager may criticize the disciple. Oh, you're giving so much money to your guru. Why you don't give to this local temple, or like that? I mean, it's legitimate to ask. You cannot force people, because it's their money, they earned it, and they got to attract donation. You can just tax people. So sometimes this is just one example. It could be other examples that the organization sort of prevails over the guru shishya dynamics, or sometimes the guru shishya overcomes the management. Like maybe the guru haphazardly just takes a devotee from the temple, say, no, there's not a problem, but the devotee has so much important service in the temple. That's also important. So sometimes the guru shishya dominates or affects the management. And sometimes the social problems or the social emphasis kind of strangles the organization. Sometimes are the economic priorities of the family, and people don't give charity. So it's a charitable society. So if the people say don't give money and they just think of the children, then obviously the society will suffer. These are just examples. There could be many more. So sometimes the guru was the stronger voice or the stronger influence, and the guru may say something like the disciples are mine and I do whatever I want with them, clear. And the TP sometimes feel, well, that's a few services to cover. So sometimes the TP is in an impotent, vulnerable situation. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the TP is in a strong position and he kind of tries to lord over the guru. And he says, this is my city. And if I say you cannot come, you cannot come. Clear. Sometimes the manager kind of trying to impose the guru some limitations. And the guru says, well, actually, a few people invited me to visit their homes. And sometimes the social conceptions are overcoming other functions of ISKCON. Like somebody say, if you don't follow my idea of Varnashram, you are in Maya. Clear? Somebody may say, look, if you are not going to the village, you are in Maya. If you live in Delhi, you're just in Maya. I'm not saying anybody says, I'm just saying, at least hypothetically. And the devotees may say, well, actually, I was trying to follow Rupa Goswami. In other words, I'm following the path of Bhakti, regardless of the external situations. So important, don't spoil your primary ecosystem. See, we are all active in all three, but you may have a primary role in your ecosystem. Maybe you're more into social life. Maybe you take more time as a housewife or a mother. That's kind of more for your engagement. Maybe you're more into your temple. You're a temple president. You got to run the temple. That's your priority. Or maybe you're a full-time sannyasi. Sannyasi obviously is full-time, but meaning you're a sannyasi, a teacher. That's what you do. You don't manage. So don't spoil your primary ecosystem. Respect the other ecosystems, understanding that they're all essential and they're all authorized, and leaders need to nourish all three. See what happens if we only go to one, say for instance, if we only say Guru Shishya, then ISKCON can break up like a Gaudiya Math, and we lose the power of the international society. Because, okay, I have my disciples, you have your disciples, she has her disciples, we have complete separate families, we don't interact, then the ISKCON is finished in one sense. Or there are little ISKCONs which by themselves, they're not so powerful, they're not so potent. So if we say only, okay, Guru Shishya is the only thing. Now, if we think only, say, building temples, building buildings, managing buildings, but maybe we don't care for say, gurus and their disciples, respect them, then maybe nobody will come to the temple. Or they say, look, they have offended my guru. How can I go to this temple? I'm saying sometime may happen, sometime may not happen, but the danger is there. And if we think, no, I'm a Grihastha, I only think of my family, I only spend money for my family, then obviously this Grihastha will become slowly dry up. Without the guru the direction, or without the temple, without the program of the temples, it can become a very materialistic Grihastha, Grihemedi. So those who are leaders, they can be mature enough to nourish all three. Nourish, support, sponsor, promote. So it's like a declaration of interdependence. Generally, we say declaration of independence, but it's a declaration of interdependence. For each to be healthy, you need to work on all three. So between self-interest of a particular ecosystem and the interests of other, you need to keep the balance. And the balance is always, it's a dynamic process. It's not that, okay, I found the balance, it's finished. Now for the next 10,000 years, it's fixed. No, it's a dynamic thing. Just like we saw today. Yeah, the kingdom was going till the Prachetas, but then, okay, there's no more administrator. You need an administrator. And now, okay, Priyavrata, but he doesn't want to do it. So what to do? So the challenge is how to keep or make each ecosystem healthy. Better gurus, better disciples, better administrators, better families. How to make or keep the ecosystem healthy. How to find the right equilibriums. Because things can become also very routine, and we lose the picture. So this we'll study later in about a couple of weeks. This is Rishabhadeva saying, one cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, husband, mother, or a worshipful demigod. In other words, in whatever role, you can see some role is social, father, mother. One is guru shisha, spiritual master. One is a worshipable demigod, meaning it's administrative, universally speaking. But anybody who has any authority should think of the spiritual life, because that's the essence. So either social, institutional, governmental, administrative, or purely spiritual Brahminical, purely meaning the aspect of transmission of knowledge, ultimately they should work for the spiritual ultimate benefit of people. See, in this verse, you see all three working together for delivering the dependence from the birth and death. So the Guru Shisha, in one sense, is the center because it's the transmission of knowledge, teaching Bhagavad Gita, teaching Bhagavata, teaching how to chant. And of course, the organization serves that, should serve that, you know. And the social, in one sense, also should support that. They should be illuminated from that. So there is interdependence. But sometimes social is stronger than Guru Shisha, sometimes Guru Shisha is stronger than the organization, sometimes the management is stronger or tries to gobble up the Guru Shisha. Sometimes you hear some, I have somebody in mind, I won't mention, it's not in India. I hear somebody who says, oh, these gurus, that they should just be attached, that these gurus and disciples, the disciples should just be attached to ISKCON, ISKCON as a society. But it doesn't work like that. That's like exaggerated. One time, this was an ISKCON leader in India. I won't mention the name, obviously, but it was. I was talking about these things in a lecture, in a formal seminar, and he said, "So, who owns these people? The temple or the guru?" And I was kind of shocked by this kind of question, because what does it mean owning people? People belong to Krishna. Right? Ishavasya sarvam yat kincha jagatat jagyat. So we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is the owner of everybody. Certainly, the temple cannot own people. The temple serves people, serves the community, serves the congregation. The temple serves the deity, makes the service of the deities available. But certainly, you cannot even think that the temple management owns the congregation. What does it mean? He's offering a service, and if people are happy, they go and they serve the temple. I don't know you personally, all of you, so I don't know if you are connected to Punjabi Bhag or to Sant Naga or to this ISKCON Dwaraka or Chippiwada. I don't know, but obviously it's not that the temple owns you. But that manager somehow thought that, yeah, the possibility is there. Or even the guru, I mean, what does it mean that the guru owns the disciple? Obviously, it's not in a legal or mundane sense. Definitely the guru has the authority to instruct the disciple in spiritual life, and the disciple has the duty to obey, but it's not like owning a cow or owning a dog or a horse. It's more like, okay, the guru is a good devotee who teaches the disciple to be a good devotee. That's a relation. It's not like a feudal relation. Okay. So sometimes the tension is practical. There is the management, and there is a guru, and there's a shisha in between. And the management says, this person belongs to me. He was coming to my temple before he even met you. So he's my guy. Okay? But the guru says, but he took shelter in me. It's my duty to guide him. And the shisha thinks, I just wanted to chant Hare Krishna. So sometimes, the tension is the money, practical facilities. The administration say, no, this person lives here and his money should come to me because I'm building the temple or I'm doing gorgeous deity worship, so his money belongs to me. And the guru said, no, but he gave to me. It's a guru dakshina is sacred. You can't just take it. So this dakshina belongs to me. And the guru say, but I'm part of you. I'm part of the society. And the dakshina was given to me to serve you, to serve the overall society, the overall mission. So the guru may think to use that money for somewhere else or something else, not necessarily the local temple. So sometimes, of course, this is graphic, this is gross, but sometimes these tensions culturally, institutionally, they do appear. Sometimes there is this type of tension. The TP, very strong. He says, you attract loyalty and donations. Get out of my city. And the guru, who sometimes may be mistreated, really, maybe say, no, you cannot come. The guru may say, but I'm simply doing my duty. I'm simply preaching. Please help me, referee. Referee, in this case, the GBC. And the GBC says, what can I do? It's the only TP I have. Sometimes the guru is overburdened by all the social problems of the disciples. The guru says, I would like to discuss only spiritual matters. I want to talk just about Shastra. I mean, I'm a sannyasi. I'm 75 years old. I want to talk Shastra. Okay? But the families, the grihasta, the social dimension says, no, you must keep answering my question on marriage problems, mental problems, economic problems, and so on. Sometimes it's different. Sometimes the family, the grihasta say, I need premarital training, marital counseling, children education, career orientation, but am I hardly getting any from you? And so the temple says, maybe in the future, now I have to open temples and distribute books. I don't have time, energy, or expertise to do all these things, which are necessary for the social sphere. Maybe I do a big wedding, but I didn't spend even 5 minutes with the people who are getting married to try to understand, will they live together? Will they be qualified grihastas? Or sometimes the guru may have the upper hand. So the TP says, please tell your disciples to support the temple, to give some donation for deity worship. And some temples are struggling for basic service of the deity. I'm not talking about India in this particular case, but the guru says, no, sorry, I have my own project on the other side of the world. Another type of tension could be, the TP says, no, I'm not going to give the recommendation for initiation yet. And the guru says, but my aspiring disciples fulfilled all the prerequisites. They're ready. This is, I would say, quite common. Unfortunately, I shouldn't laugh because it's very sad. Sometimes the TP has got this power, give recommendation or not give recommendation. And sometimes, I emphasize sometimes, not always, but sometimes, not always and not everywhere, but sometimes the TP really try to squeeze as much as possible from this power. That, yeah, I know I won't give you a recommendation. In some place they say, no, you got to give money to the temple, or you have to come and serve in the temple, which is not in ISKCON law. It just in one sense is it's an abuse of power, okay? And sometimes people are ready, but they're just made to wait and wait and wait, not because they're not ready for initiation, but because there is some personal tension between the the person and the TP, so the TP kind of accepts revenge. So the guru say they're ready. The TP says, no, that's not the point. They have to understand who is really the boss. So they have to surrender to him. They may be ready to take initiation, but because they're not totally surrendered to him, then he will make them wait. What happened to him? He was waiting the recommendation, but it never arrived. So he died waiting recommendation. So next life is the same guy, but next life. In my previous life, you made me wait 18 years for the recommendation. When you were about to give it, I died. Can I have my recommendation now, please? I see some of you are laughing. I don't know. Some of you might be crying. I don't know. I don't know. You have we have 8 minutes. We can discuss. These are delicate issues, but you are Bhakti Vaibhava students. You're not kindergarten students. So maybe you like to tell me if you find it relevant, or maybe it was too much for you. Once I presented this, for instance, to all the ISKCON gurus and sannyasis. There is something called SGGS. You heard about SGGS? The Sangha of Guru, GBCs, and sannyasis. So I gave the same PowerPoint to all the gurus, sannyasis, and guru, GBCs, and sannyasis. And then there was also some group work asking, like, okay, what you see as these issues and how to solve them, and so on and so forth. So it was not just a presentation, it was also some discussion among them. I understand this is for leaders, but I mean, your members, your citizens of ISKCON, you have perceived some of these dynamics. But let's hear from Antaryami Balaram Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was so nice. I mean, we are seeing and facing these things practically on a day-to-day basis. And it keeps coming to us, we being leaders, we keep seeing, and people also keep coming to us and telling us this is happening and that is happening. So very, very relevant for us to, how to deal with the organization. And also here, I would particularly say how to deal with the people who are we taking care of, or, who are coming in our classes, or, the ashray or whatever courses we are running. So I really like the point that we do not own them. That's the point I really like, because this mentality keeps, slowly it comes. And even if you start with a good point, but then slowly after a couple of years, you really start demanding and, saying that, hey, how come you didn't ask me before doing that? How come, you did that before, I had said yes or no. And this keeps coming. So, we slowly, gradually started taking control of, them. And we think that we are their leaders and, we are the owners. So this point is really, we need to understand that we are not.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Sometimes we see it. And frankly, I mean, I live in India since what now, 37 years. So I'm familiar with the ground realities, especially this. It's especially in India, this sense of like, okay, these people are my people, and they shouldn't listen to anybody. We have one devotee here in Mayapur. I will not mention any name. Of course, if you torture me, probably I will reveal it. But in normal circumstance, I will not say the name. There is a devotee here who was cultivating some girls, and even told them that, look, If you listen to anybody else, I'm your Shiksha Guru. If you listen to anybody else, you're prostitutes. It's like, what? I mean, we are supposed to listen to all the devotees, right? Learn from everybody. And he said, no, you need to listen only to me. In Calcutta, I tell you, I won't tell you the name also because I don't even remember the name, but there's a brahmachari who is somehow cultivating young girls, which is already strange, right? I mean, brahmachari shouldn't deal with young girls. It's just not. I don't know how it happened. I don't know the history. But this young girl somehow came in touch with my wife. And my wife, she is, first of all, she's senior to this brahmachari. She took initiation more than 20 years ago. And she's senior to him. Plus, these girls like her very much. Plus, she invites her to Mayapur. Sometimes they stay with us. So it's a very, very natural and nice relation. But this brahmachari prohibited them. No, you cannot go and see Shri Radha Govinda Das. You cannot. You are mine. I mean, maybe not saying like that, but you are with me. You cannot go. And if you go to Mayapur, you cannot go to her. But they love her very much. And they attend her online classes and things. And sometimes they come, but they cannot tell the brahmachari that they have come to Mayapur, and so my wife. So sometimes it's very, very, very strange and unhealthy. Obviously, it's not everywhere, but sometimes it's really this idea that these people are mine. It's the Ishvara Bhava. It's just Ishvara Bhava, which is, we know, it's just the root of this world, the root of material life, Ishvara Bhava, the controlling mood, and sometimes it's the same Ishvara Bhava within the movement. And it's very unhealthy, it's very painful. But sometimes we see this like that. So, in conclusion, I'm bringing up this point because, okay, Priyavrata, Swayambhuva, Brahma, Narada, it's really not our circle, right? I mean, we don't generally hang around with them. We are at a different level. But their dimension, their dynamics obviously have a link, a relevance, a pertinence to our own life and our own attitude. So tomorrow, we'll see how the situation is very amicably, very wisely resolved. Everybody at the end was happy. There was no resentment. There was no hang-ups. There was no grudges. But we also learned that these tensions are implicit and they are there at every level. And we need to learn how to deal with that. So our time is up. So thank you very much to all of you. Someone, I don't say the name because it was a direct message. It is very deep subject. Much can be discussed. True. So thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Hare Krishna. Hope to see you tomorrow. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Bhakti, Vaibhava course and participants ki jai. Hare Krishna.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो